Hey, get Brock here. Quick video. With season one finishing up, right? Finishing up from the filming perspective, you guys still have a couple more episodes at this point, or a lot more episodes at this point to watch. I'm going to be looking to do a small recruitment drive for several of the Outland factions. If you're interested in potentially being part of Outlands, this might be your ticket. These positions have space for those that want to build, those with limited times, and those that want to show up, when able, and then those that really want to get heavily involved. Before proceeding, since we've grown a fair bit since the last video, I suggest if you're new here, watch the video I'm linking up in the top right. That explains what exactly Outlands is from the inside perspective, right? How we film it, how a player plays in it. Real quick though, for a quick refresher, it's sort of like a Dungeons and Dragons tabletop game where we talk about where we want to go, what moves we want to do beforehand in a organized fashion, but instead of rolling dice, we actually do PvP, right? So, fairly simple. We film every Friday, Mountain Daylight Time, or at 4:30. However, not all factions will always be needed, though generally the CDF Rider factions are featured the most, EFN close behind. We have multiple factions that heavily influence the story by the decisions they make, and if you want to join in that, you can influence the story. Be sure, once again, watch that video if you're interested. It's important to understand how things work to know what you're getting into. For the recruitment itself, the EFN, so the Eternity, the new faction I'll mention in a second, the Riders, and the CDF all need players. I'll get into an explanation for each. The Eternity, we need a new crew member, simply just because we need more people for the kind of stuff we want to do in Season 2 and beyond. You need to be at least 21 years or older. Technically, I'm okay with younger people. We have younger people on the crew, but this is more of a mature crew, and the personalities just mesh better if you're older. You need to be able to make every Friday, if we're filming or not. You must be able to mesh with the crew, right? Like if we get you in and we're practicing stuff and you just don't mesh, no hard feelings, but we're making a show, we have to have some chemistry. Candidates that, put their foot forward, if you have a YouTube or Twitch VODs or something that I can use to get a rough idea of your mic quality, your personality, etc., will generally be put at the top of the list of recruits because, you're more of a known quantity. So if you do have something like that, please mention it when you apply. Being good at space engineers is actually not a requirement. In fact, those that come in stouting themselves or strutting themselves as good at space engineers generally have always been incredibly tedious or annoying. I want role players or people that can somewhat act or just fun, entertaining personalities. Being good at space engineers is pretty low on the priority list. So, if you're interested in being part of the EFN, the Eternity crew, message me on Discord, right? Discord link down below. And I'll add you to the list, and then I will go through it and choose who I think is a good fit for the crew. Please comment on Discord. I'm not really going to read the YouTube comment section here because it's just too hard to track people down and have conversations via YouTube. Number 2, there will be a new faction coming up. Yep. This faction will be more of an intro faction compared to the previous factions. So for those interested in dipping their toes into what faction gameplay is like, this is where you do it. This faction will last roughly 5 to 10 episodes, and the expectations are much lower for this faction. You're kind of more of you're a focus of the episodes for these 5 episodes, but the expectations are much lower, right? If the faction dissolves, that's okay. So you'll be able to deploy ships you've built, partake in encounters, influence the story, but you're going to burn hard and fast, right? The faction will generally dissolve or become a minor faction after these 5 to 10 episodes. This faction currently is in production, right? We have a leader for it and the likes, but now that we're opening it to the public, we need shipbuilders, primary pilots, leaders, and dudes to just hang out in the Discord and chime in on tactics, strategies, whatever. This faction will be heavily focusing on PvP combat because, for the lack of a better term, you will be acting as NPCs, so to speak, right? But, that's a vague, incorrect term, but it gets the idea across. From here, if the faction warfare and the play style of Outlands is to your liking, once this faction dissolves, right, you can choose to be in the faction if we keep it, right? That'll be up to the story. Or you can decide to join Other factions. I assure you, all the other factions will be looking at the players in this faction on how they perform, and they'll really want some of the standout players. Just being, showing up every Friday and being, receptive, willing to learn, and friendly is just, that's more than enough, and the factions will be looking for something like that. If you are interested in joining this faction, talk to Upgrade. He's on the Discord, and ask to be put in the Unaligned channel. That is our current placeholder name because we don't want to reveal what they're called until they show up on screen. So for now, just go into the Unaligned or in the Discord and get put in the Unaligned channel, and you'll be brought up to speed in about a week once the recruitment drive is over. Finally, the other two factions, the CDF and the Riders. Both of these factions are quite well established, so getting in on the ground floor is unfortunately over for these factions, right? They're main characters in the series. They have their, hierarchy established, whatever. So if you want to get in on them, I'm sure they could use some pilots and builders. However, generally that's mostly covered. What both of them actually sort of need are competent sub-commanders. That is, people that can do, missions, smaller level missions, be fire team leaders, be squadron leaders, stuff like that, right? The leaders are excellent at what they're doing, but the pressure of filming every week, right? They'd like to, chill a little bit and offload, delegate some tasks. And that's the type of person these factions generally need. Though who knows, throw your ring in the hat. Perhaps they just need more pilots as well. But yeah. So if you're interested in that, head on to the Discord and perhaps talk to Admiral Mallard or Admiral Omni. Right, that's their in-game rank name. Or just mention that you want to join the Riders or the CDF, and they'll, someone will point you in the right direction. Finally, I'm looking for a female Space Engineers player for a specific character I have in mind. The rough design of this character is still up in the air. Very similar in concept to what I had in mind with Captain Sarah back in Sigmarius, if you watched that. A much more lore-rich character. And, So if you know someone that is interesting, please let me know. For this character, though, being a voice actor only isn't acceptable due to the nature of Outlands. That character must also be able to actively play the game. But yeah, this is very much in an early development stage, so hit me up if you have something in mind. Okay, that's really about it. This is just a recruitment drive, right? We're finishing up Season 1. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.